Well, hey there, YouTube. I hope this video finds you well. Just a lazy Saturday afternoon here in South Alabama, and I thought it would be a good time to do a video like this. I'm just going to actually talk from some of the notes that I have been taking. I've been doing a really deep dive on breathwork recently. You guys are probably, if you're new to the channel, this is just like sharing some of the stuff I do. This is not to teach any breath work or anything. It's just that I'm taking a deeper dive into my breath work practice, and I just like to share as I go and kind of in what I kind of consider the beginner stages. Now, for people that follow me, I've been talking about breath work, talking about the breath for over a year now. And I've used breath work, and I've used the breath, in situations when I have anxiety, when I need to calm down a little bit, and just for various things. And I just like to practice, good, deep, solid breathing most of the time. But I've been wanting for months to kind of like go a little deeper with it and kind of start an actual practice, like a daily practice. And one of the things that kind of drew me to breathwork initially was just, and I'll talk about somebody in a minute who I resonate with because he kind of came for the same reason. I initially, breath work, I know it's good for you, but it was about like helping my meditation practice and, just being able to kind of still the mind a little bit quicker when I got in there. But as I listened, and that's why, I'm not like I forget a lot of stuff, and sometimes it takes somebody saying something just the right way to sink in. So the last couple of weeks, and you guys know I'm a big fan of podcasts, I've been just doing that's about all I've been listening to, things relating to breath work. And I came across three people who I feel like I really finally got on the path that I want to go listening to them. One is a gentleman named Niraj Naik. And I'll put these names below, and I'm also going to have a link below. Niraj, Niraj Naik. There's also somebody else I came across, Richie Bostock, and I also bought his book Exhale. I would recommend this book, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. And the third person is a gentleman called Coomer. Like I said, I'll put all these down below. Now, Jesse Coomer, he's got a book called A Practical Guide to Breathwork. Plus, he's also got another book, A Practical Guide to Cold Training. And Jesse Coomer's the one that I'm talking about that I related to the most, although these other two are fabulous. And if you want to go to wherever you get your podcast and just search their names, you will get some wonderful information there. But I started, really actually learning because, we can use this to regulate our nervous system, like I say, deal with anxiety and stuff. But there's also really physical implications to breathing correctly. Now, the title, Learn to Breathe, that sounds a little silly because we've been breathing since we were born. But do we breathe correctly? Do we breathe deeply? I like this phrase that Jesse Coomer's always saying, slow, low, and in through the nose. And that's someplace, that everybody I think can begin, because a lot of people are mouth breathers, so many mouth breathers out of there. And we breathe so much more efficiently. We are supposed to be breathing through our nose. And also, too, for people that have had sinus problems, have issues, say, I can't breathe through my nose, I have allergies, I'm dealing with a cold, there's also breath that you can do, techniques to a lot of times clear those nasal ways. And the reason that this stuff is important to us is as we age, especially, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's kind of shocking. As we age, our lung capacity gets smaller and smaller. So if we get, that's another marker of health. If we can increase our lung capacity, it increases our health. And if you look to nature, like the rate of our breath, how fast we breathe, and how long you can hold your breath correlates to longevity. And that's another part of it too, is as I started listening to more and more of the podcasts and consuming some content from these people, I realized too that it's about, that those breath holds are also very important. And it's not about just breathing as deeply as you can and taking in more oxygen. It's about using our oxygen more efficiently. It's really kind of this thing about balancing our oxygen and our carbon dioxide But they're also, and also too, as I'm saying this stuff, don't be sitting there like a professor judging me. I'm learning this, so that's why I take lots of notes when I'm learning. And one thing that you'll find is very important is carbon. A thing that I've come to find is a very important thing is carbon dioxide tolerance. And that's the body's ability to handle a temporary imbalance of CO2 and oxygen. The higher your tolerance is, the longer you'll be able to hold your breath. And you start playing around. You know, it really is. That's all it is becoming comfortable with those uncomfortable situations. And I had never been interested in any of the cold training, the plunges, cold showers, all that, until I heard this guy talking about it. Now, he is actually Jesse Coomer. Jesse Coomer is one of the earlier, like he was one of the first people certified to do Wim Hof, to be a teacher of the Wim Hof method. Now, he's not just Wim Hof. He has gone on, that was years ago, he's gone on to have, you know, he teaches all different types of breath work for different situations. Although the Wim Hof method is definitely something that is on my, you know, that's on my radar, and it's something that I want to learn and practice as well. But yeah, improving your CO2 tolerance strengthens your body's ability to adapt to the stressors. So that's what it is. It's you know, when you get, that's what works in the cold showers. And that's what really made me finally understand for the first time, like, it's not about being some superhuman, or it's not about this or that. It's just basically about being able to, right in the moment, it's about stressors. It's about how our body reacts to stressors. And when you're feeling that cold water on you, that is the practice. It's not to, you know, and I remember I stayed in this place in the mountains about 7 years ago, and I dabbled a little bit. I did cold showers about 4 days in a row, but I would just sit in there. I don't even think I was breathing, and I was just kind of like, you know, like stilled, where I see how long I could take it. But actually now I'm learning you stand in that, and you try to regulate your breath. It's all about regulating the breath. We have more control over the body. We have more control over our emotions, our nervous system, everything, when we can regulate our breath, and when we don't let that breath and just that panic and start chest breathing getting away from us. So the better I'm just jumping around in my notes. The better control you have over your breathing, the less generalized anxiety you feel. And you have a better ability to center yourself when things get stressful. And also too, we can use these in the moment, but training on a regular basis is something that when we get into these stressful situations is like working out a muscle. You know, it's like, you know, each time you work, you get a little bit stronger, you're a little bit more prepared for what's to come. And it's the same way with that breath work. Now, I think most, as I've said in other videos, I think most everybody can practice breath work in some capacity, but if you have cardiovascular issues, you might want to check with your doctor. If you have had traumas in life, you know, sometimes certain breath work and certain breath patterns can bring up emotional issues from traumas in the past. One place to just start, and I've started trying to, you know, over the last few months, I've focused more on the day-to-day, because it's good to sit down and have a day of practice, you know, where we physically sit down and do a certain breath work exercise, but also too, we breathe all the time. And you don't want to just set up a practice where you're sitting and doing your breath work and then, you know, do whatever. So if you don't already breathe through your nose, work on breathing through your nose. Work on breathing through your nose all the time, wherever you're going. I go out for walks. I was out for a walk this morning. That's something I've done the last month or two or so. It's when I'm out for a walk. And yeah, I'm not like getting my heart rate up super high, but I walk at a pretty good rate of speed. There's some inclines where I'm walking, so it's enough to kind of get me going. And I'm, you know, and it's not like I'm going to be panting. I'm not in that bad a shape through my mouth. But I have to think about it. And I walk and I just breathe through my nose. And sometimes I do sort of want to take a little bit more of breath. It's not like you're going out running and you're out of breath, but sometimes you're like, you really have to concentrate on it. But, you know, just kind of keep doing things like that, breathing through the nose. And one thing I would say, there's a lot of videos on YouTube, and you can and most are probably not going to be anything that's dangerous to you, but it's just kind of willy-nilly. I also learned too, and that's why I'm going to read Exhale first. I'm about to dive into that this afternoon. I'm going to get that book by Jesse Coomer, A Practical Guide to Breathwork, next. And then, like I say, I'll kind of see where I'm going to do what my practice is going to be from there. But what I was getting at is, instead of just doing it willy-nilly, and not everybody can get a personal instructor to teach them breath work. Not everybody can spend money and go to a retreat somewhere. So the next best thing, get books like this. Jesse Coomer has, like, besides his book, he has a Patreon, which I'm probably going to join. It's like $5 a month. And he's got a lot. I mean, it's worth the money. It's well worth the money. It's probably would be the most, it's not an app, but it would be the most, it's worth more than any of the apps that I spend money for. And, you know, I would start with something like that. And he makes it where, you know, he says it, like, his time is worth money. To do, like, if you were working with him one-on-one, it's expensive. You know, it's about $250 a session. Which is more than, you know, people like me could afford. Next one down is on his website. He does have a course that I think is about $450, $499. Very comprehensive, a 7-week course. Still might be about out of some people's budget. Next best thing, get that book. You know, get his book. Read about it. Like I say, I think that's probably where I'm going to go with it, is I'm going to read his book. I'm probably going to get on his Patreon and then start like that and see where I'm going to go, and then, you know, we'll take it from there. But this is something that, like I say, after taking like really doing a deep dive into it, I believe this is crucial, and I'm about to go into it in a serious manner and make it a regular daily practice. I think it'll be just you know, another piece of the puzzle, and maybe even a more important piece of the puzzle than the food, if you would believe that. But yeah, and also too, and I'll finish up there. Like I say, I'm coming close. I think in another month or so, I'll have been meditating daily for 2 years. And I was originally going to expand my meditation practice to twice a day, but I think just to carve out that slot and not have 2 meditation times a day and then a breathwork practice, is I'm going to do my meditation, and then I'm going to do a breathwork session throughout the day. But anyhow, follow along with some of these people. This is some really good stuff. This is some really important stuff. And there's so much free information out there. That's why I like to talk about these podcasts all the time. Sit around and listen to them in the evenings. People say, oh, I don't have time for an hour or whatever long podcast. I'm like, I'm assuming you're consuming some sort of content, you know, for entertainment. Listen in the evenings. These people are engaged. They're not like they're not dry. It's not like it's hard to listen to. But anyhow, like I say, nothing really for me to teach you today. Just want to bring you along people that might be interested in this direction. And who knows, one of these days, maybe we'll all go down and breathe in Costa Rica together. All right, guys, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Have a great rest of your weekend if you're watching this on the weekend, and we'll see you here real soon. Peace.